Hey everybody, welcome back to Portraits and Pages. My name is Alyssa, and today I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated reads of 2021. These are not books necessarily like I'm 100% going to get to, but that I really, really want to, and I'm going to kind of make a little bit of a priority. I know there's like 3 on here that I'm like, if I'm not able to check them out at the library, I might go pick them up. But for the most part, these are just ones that are on my list, and they all come out in 2021, probably. The first 2 are going to be ones that don't technically have release dates, or they have mixed ones to such a degree that I put them on the no release date list. The first one being an untitled novel by Elizabeth Acevedo. Why would I put an untitled one that I have no idea what it's about? Because I'll read anything Elizabeth Acevedo does. I read The Poet X. I loved it. I purchased it, as you probably saw in my last video. I read Girl with the Fire on High. I always say Girl with the Fire on High. It's just With the Fire on High, which is a prose one that I actually gifted one of my close friends for Christmas. I wanted to buy it for myself, and I'm just like, that's stupid. Somebody else can read it. And I got excited, so I got it for her. She also likes Elizabeth Acevedo. So, high up on my list, Elizabeth Acevedo, untitled book, whatever, just drop it and I'll read it. Number 2 on my list of ones that don't officially have release dates is A Psalm of Storms and Silence by Roseanne Brown. And this is the second novel. I don't know if it's going to be a duology or a series. And this is the second novel of A Song in Wraith and Ruin, which is also the name of the first novel. And this is a fantasy YA romance. And it was among my, I believe I put it in my runners up, my honorable mentions of my favorite fantasy of 2020. And honestly, one of the reasons I give it a runner up is I was a big fan of the romance element. I feel like it would have been stronger without it. Technically, it's in that genre. The first book, I can't really say much about this without giving some stuff away. The first book is about 2 competing protagonists. One, which is trying to... How much can I tell you? One of the 2 protagonists is trying to kill a sacrifice. She has to kill a king, which you gotta have a king to kill one, so she's putting herself up as an option. She has to kill a king to bring back her mother, who she believes is assassinated. And then the boy character, Malik, which I'm totally going to believe out if his name's wrong. I think it's Malik and Karina. I think it's Karina. Malik is a refugee who's come into this area, and I believe his sister is taken by a magical spirit, possibly a djinn, and to get her free, he must kill the queen, the current queen, the princess. So they're both trying to kill people, and stuff happens. And so then the ending happens, and then there's book 2. And that's what I'm excited about. So here are the ones that have a for sure release date, or say for sure unless something happens. They give me a month. I'm not doubting the numbers that I'm getting. So the first one is going to be Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This is a prequel to The Hate U Give. This is a contemporary YA focused on race and class. I really enjoyed the first book. The movie was pretty good. It was okay. The story centers, like Concrete Rose centers the father of 7, who's a protagonist in the first book. And this is at the time before she was born, up into her birth and a little bit after, and you see what goes on in his life. And the only thing we know about him is that he used to be in a gang, and there was a portion of her life in which he was in prison. It's probably going to be leading up to that climax. That's not really a spoiler, because it's a key part of his character. There's no twist. There's no surprise that happens. You just find it out pretty early on in the first book. It's labeled as The Hate U Give, book 0, so we know that. And Concrete Rose is a reference to another Tupac piece of poetry. And I knew this, not because I know a lot about rap, but because in 10th grade in my English class, we actually read this. I'm going to put it up on the screen. And so that's what it's referencing. And the first novel and the name of the series, The Hate U Give, which spells out, it's the acronym for the word thug, is also a reference to Tupac's work. The prequel to The Hate U Give, Concrete Rose, is set to come out January 12th, so it's a very early on read. I'm probably just gonna, as soon as it gets to my library, get in line, but if I like it, I might purchase both. The next book is Just As I Am by Cicely Tyson. This book is slated to come out January 26th. This is a nonfiction autobiography or memoir. I can't really tell by the description. A memoir, for the difference between autobiography and a memoir, is that a memoir is about a thematic thing or a time period of her life, and an autobiography is generally beginning-ish to end-ish, or to the present-ish. So I don't know which is going to be, but I'm excited for it. I haven't watched a lot of things that Cicely Tyson has been in. She's an American actress, but I'm very interested in seeing the life of a Black woman over such an expansive period of time. As of last December, October, her birthday's at the end of the year. She turned 96, so she was born in 1924, and she has 96 years, or, minus the first 10, because who remembers, when you get to a certain age, you probably don't remember the first few years of your life, of knowledge and experiences. See what her thoughts were, her reflections are on so many important periods of American history and film history as well. So that's the civil rights, different wars that we've been involved in, maybe the Black Lives Matter movement of the present, and her experience as a Black actress in Hollywood, one of the most underrepresented groups, even proportionally, on screen. So while I'm not reading it for her accolades, let's talk about that for a second. So these are just some of them. She has won, Miss Tyson has won Emmys, maybe just one, a Tony, a Peabody, an honorary Oscar, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. What do you have to say? What else is there to say? I'm excited to read that. In February 2021, we have The Bad Muslim Discount by, I believe, their name is Saeed M. Masood. This is supposed to come out February 2nd. It's a contemporary fiction novel that I believe is a humor. It's been described as really funny. Again, we won't know until it comes out. And this follows two Muslim immigrant families from the 1990s, I think of mid to late 1990s to 2016. One family is from Pakistan and one is from Iraq. This one may already be out in ebook form based off what I saw online, but its print publication is 2021, which is why I'm putting it on this list. It may not be an ebook. If it is, either way, I'm going to wait for the print version and probably listen to the audiobook. I mean, just like with Cicely Tyson, I'm interested in people's thoughts and experiences from, this is not a biography, this is fiction, from the past before I was born, but this time is very unique considering this was us at the end of the Gulf War, I say us as in America, into the continuous, in 2021 still going on, war on terror, because it's a war on an idea, not an actual thing that you could capture. So the Islamophobia that heightened after 9/11, I'm sure will be a big part of this story. I try not to read, because it started to give me details, I try not to read too much, but what I read sounds interesting. You can tell by the cover and the name that it's going to be funny, so we're probably going to need it, considering the shit that people are going to have to go through. In March is The Women and Other Monsters, Building a New Mythology by Jess Zimmerman. This is slated to come out March 9th, and as you probably can tell from a few of my last videos, I really, really enjoyed the book about Millicent Fitzpatrick by Mallory O'Meara, and they didn't go too much into it, but I have been interested in the concept of horror and mythology and how creatures reflect our present anxieties. I rewatched a bunch of Lindsay Ellis videos talking about that same topic the other day. I'll link those down below. They're very fascinating. This book is a nonfiction book that looks at Greek mythology and does an analysis of 11 women and femme monsters and what their stories tell us about the less desired aspects of humankind and what we find valuable and not valuable. The quote that I wrote down is, "It's an analysis that uses female monsters from Greek mythology to re-examine traits women are taught to suppress, arguing for a wilder, more monstrous form of feminism." You can tell a lot about how a culture feels about the role of gender based on looking at their mythology, not just the Greeks, but the Greeks are the one we're most aware of. And I've had very interesting conversations in my Roman and Greek classes. My undergrad was art history and my graduate was humanities with a focus in museum studies. So I've taken a lot of classes that look at these kind of mythologies, the ones in Mesopotamia, the ones in ancient Greece, the Roman Empire, and then also have been interested in the mythology series that Crash Course has. It's just fascinating. That's what I'm going to say about that. The next book that I'm excited about, number 7, is going to be, again, not in order, but in order of release, is The Luck of the Titanic by Stacey Lee. This comes out May 5th. This is our May book, one of 2. It's about a down-on-her-luck British-Chinese woman who sneaks onto the Titanic to reunite with her twin brother, Jamie, and is trying to convince Ringling Brothers Circus to take them on as acrobats. Now, let me repeat one part. Sneaks onto the Titanic. We know how this is going to end, at least for most of the people on board. So I've never read a book or watched anything other than the movie The Titanic, and I've been to the Titanic exhibits before that have the story set on that boat. I've had some come across me before, but I was just like, why do I want to do that heartache for just, I know the ending. I don't need to know, okay? I don't need to know. But this one of my goals for 2021 is to read more authors of Asian heritage. And not only is Stacy of Asian heritage, I think she's Chinese, specifically like 4th generation Chinese, but I only know this because I was looking at her bio. This story is loosely inspired by 6 Titanic survivors of Chinese descent. So the characters in the story are stowaways, and she uses the elements that there were non-white people on the Titanic and how their experiences would have been different, and is basing that loosely, probably very loosely, but I'll find out after I read it. I don't want to know anything yet. Very loosely, her story is based off these real people. The only time Titanic has interacted with my fiction is in Downton Abbey, which was a surprise, and I'll leave it at that. It's in the very beginning. The next book that I want to read that comes out in May is The Anthropocene Review by John Green. That comes out May 18th. Now, on BookTube, John Green is a very controversial figure for his writing. I like his writing, but I've only read Turtles All the Way Down, and it seems like most people that don't like him didn't get that far and don't like his books, and I like that one. And maybe I overlooked some of those criticisms. Maybe he has outgrown them, but I enjoyed it, and I enjoy him, Hank, and the whole team thing that they have built on YouTube with Complexly, and I really admire it, and I love it as like a viewer and as a person that wants education to be more accessible. This is his first non-fiction book, so I'm very hyped to read it. I feel like this has just become a John Green defense. It's not, even though I will. It's not. The next book on my list is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is an urban fantasy and crime novel, and is the trilogy ending to the Greenbone saga. Now, I've never talked about the Greenbone saga because I've never read the Greenbone saga. I keep saying saga. So many reviewers that I really respect love that series, and I kept pushing it back because I knew I couldn't focus on it and just dive right in, and I found out, hey, the 3rd book is coming out in 2021. No time like the present, right? And so I plan on reading them before September, to then be able to finish the trilogy. And I may not get to it if I don't like the first 2, but I think I will. I don't know what could prevent me from not doing it, because the concept sounds fascinating to me, and the reviews have all been positive from what I've heard. 4 and 5 stars. It's Jade City, Jade War, Jade Legacy. So the latest I will start Jade City is probably in May, at the absolute latest, if not by March, because I've kind of made somewhat of a reading TBR that I'm going to stick to, but probably not make any videos about. May is Asian Pacific Islander Desi Heritage Month in the United States, and so I want to read it before then, because I'm not just reading people during their designated cultural months. However, I do have that, I think book 2, I want to be on book 2 by the time May comes around, so I can read that during May. So the final book that I am hyped to read in 2021 is going to be Arsenic and Adobo, and this is by Mia Manasala, I believe is how you pronounce her name, and is a part of something called Atita's Rosy Kitchen Mystery. And so this book is a rom-com mystery in which this main character, Leela, is supposed to be saving Tita Rosie's failing restaurant, and then she has to deal with her aunt or her auntie bringing out matchmakers, the family judging her, meanwhile she's trying to help them, and then a nasty food critic that is also her ex-boyfriend. So it's very messy. I'm very excited. This thing on Penguin Random House says, but when a notoriously nasty food critic, who happens to be her ex-boyfriend, drops dead moments after a confrontation with her, her life quickly serves from Nora Ephron romp to Agatha Christie case. So this is where we go from the drama to the mystery. And I don't read enough mysteries. I read plenty of dramas, but I don't read enough mysteries, so I'm excited to do this one. I also, when I read last year, some of my favorite books, which some made lists, some didn't, had to do with food, and that's With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, and From Scratch, A Memoir of Love, Sicily, and Finding a Home by Tembi Locke, which that one actually did make one of my favorite nonfiction books in 2020. I wanted to make a priority of, I shouldn't say a priority, I wanted to explore more books in which food is a central element of the story, and I'm a really picky eater, and I'm like, maybe if I read more books that have to do with food, I can be more adventurous, so that's what we're going to try. This book actually comes out in May. I did this in the wrong order, but that's 10. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, you like list videos in general, I just did a worst books I read in 2020, best nonfiction books and graphic novels, best fiction books and graphic novel, and now there's this one. Outside of this one, I will be doing one with my goals for 2021, my reading goals. I set a few. I set some monthly goals, I set some yearly goals that are very specific, and then I set some broad goals. So be on the lookout for that. If you hit the notification bell, you will get notified when I upload my next video, which will be soon-ish. I've been releasing a lot of videos back to back because all these videos I should have done earlier, and I went on that little mini hiatus, and I'm back now. I went on a long hiatus, then I went on a mini one after I announced I was coming back, but now I'm back, so it's all good. Oh, another one is a reflection on my art. My art. I do art. I haven't released an art video in such a long time, but I will be doing one about a reflection of 2020. That one's not really a rush. I haven't even really thought about what my goals are going to be for 2021 in regards to art. I'm just trying to graduate and get through this pandemic, but I will have some and do a reflection on the ones they've completed this last year. And yeah, next time you see this, my hair will look very different. Oh no. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Thank you for watching.